The more I study the Nicholas Morrow signing, I got to be real, man. The more I'm starting to think that my initial evaluation, I may have missed some things about this young man in that this could be a lot better of a signing than I originally thought. There's definitely concerns. There's always worries with any player when you're dealing with free agency. There's always a reason why these dudes are on the market. But I got to say, when I dug into the deeper analytics behind this play, I walked away going, he makes a ton of sense if you're going to play Nakobe Dean as your Mike and this young man at the will. All right, y'all. Let's get into it. What's up, Cerebral Football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is K-City Sports Channel. So earlier today, I was flipping through the channels and I was listening to some of the commentators talk. And something Barrett Brooks said, I was like, I want to go research this. Like, I hear what he's saying. He gave us some kind of parameters to define what we're looking for from an analytics standpoint. So why doesn't someone just go do the research and see where, Nicholas Morrow stacks up if you do that? And basically the gist of what, Barrett Brooks said was, when you're judging linebackers, like you kind of have to know, like you can't just look at total tackles, right? Total tackles can be a little misleading. What you have to know is what he called impact plays. And what he was defining impact plays were anything that was 3 yards or fewer in gaining, including negative play results, right? Tackles for loss, all those type of things. So I said, well, why don't we just go ahead and use that parameter? Let's go ahead and go in the stat head, and let's see where this young man ranks. Whew, I came out of there going, oh boy, the analytics department and the scouting department here for Philadelphia, I think did their thing on this signing. Because as great as Kyzir White played at times last year, I got to be honest, man, this dude was right there step for step with him and actually finished just above him, if we're going to be honest. Now, I will state right from the jump, I got 30 guys lined up for you to talk about when it comes to what we're calling impact plays, which is basically any tackle made from a 3-yard gain or below. When I put in the parameters, I did from negative 99 yards to a 3-yard gain, okay? Filtered by the 2022 season. I believe I put it all for the regular season. I don't think I included any of the postseason, so that way it'd be a little fairer in terms of evaluating the teams. Here's what I came away with, guys. Here's the list of the 30 players that came up here. Roquan Smith, Max Crosby, Foyesade Olakan, Frankie Louvi, which, wow, talk about a dude that can play some football, man. That's an under-the-radar guy for the Panthers. Christian Wilkins, Bobby Wagner, Zaire Franklin, Jordan Brooks, Drew Tranquill, Alex Singleton, Bobby Okereke, Jonathan Allen, Levante David, Quincy Williams, Nick Bolton, Nicholas Morrow. Nicholas Morrow, number 15. Myles Garrett, TJ Edwards, Donovan Wilson, Fred Warner, Danielle Hunter, Alandon Roberts, Shaq Thompson, Jordan Hicks, DeForest Buckner, Kyzir White, Nick Bosa, Cameron Hayward, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Rashaan Evans were your 30 players if you only did this by total tackles fitting that parameter. But you guys know me. That's never going to be enough. So I'm going to filter further for you guys. Because to begin with, that's cool, but what is the percentage of these impact plays in terms of your total tackles? Because that probably gives you a better analysis of what's happened. So I did that for you. And then furthermore, what I did is I filtered just by experience, me playing the game. You can't compare percentage-wise a defensive tackle, an edge defender, a Mike linebacker, a will linebacker, and a safety. Dude, you're going to have some very drastically different numbers, and those numbers indicate completely different things. For example, if you had to take a wild guess at who's, ranking the highest in terms of total tackles, in terms of the percentage of that, impact plays, then of course you're coming away with names like Max Crosby, who was over 50% in terms of that rate. The highest rated guy, Jonathan Allen, at 55%. I'm sorry, no, he wasn't the highest rated guy. Myles Garrett was at 58%. You have Danielle Hunter at 52%. Nick Bosa, once again, I was wrong again. Nick Bosa was the highest percentage guy, 62%. But you get my point. Defensive linemen are going to have way higher percentages here, right? And then when you're looking at something like a Mike compared to a will linebacker, to explain the difference here and why you have to be aware, the reason you need to be aware of that is that a Mike linebacker is going to have much different responsibilities compared to a will linebacker, and there's going to be easier opportunities to gain those tackles for the will linebacker. The reason being is a lot of times, depending on the system that they're playing in, a will linebacker will cover the flats. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a really clear example of this. This is the first play of the season for the Philadelphia Eagles. This is Kyzir White. This is the example of the play I'm talking about, right? A throw out to the flats where you're making a tackle and you're shutting it down for less than 3 yards. So, 3 yards or fewer. So right away, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Like, you have to kind of have a feel for the game, how the game's played to know this. So what I did is I went through the list and I started filtering out guys that didn't make any sense here. And I only really stuck to what I would consider to be like will linebackers. Now, even in, doing this, I had some complications because Roquan Smith honestly was a will linebacker in Matt Eberflus's system in Chicago. But when you put him inside of more of a 34 front, he plays more of the Mike role. He's more of an inside stack linebacker. So when he got switched over basically to Baltimore, he became more of a Mike linebacker. So you got some complications. I still included him in this, but just know going forward, his numbers are probably going to fall down to what you would expect a Mike linebacker. Really good Mike linebackers would be about 25%, but you want them to be about above 20% is pretty much the ratio for a Mike linebacker. For will linebackers, this is how they stacked, guys. Number 1 overall was Frankie Louvi from the Carolina Panthers with 40.54% of his tackles occurring from 3 yards or fewer. That's an incredible stat. He is head and shoulders above everybody else on this list, guys. I didn't know much about this young man, and I live in North Carolina right now. So, I mean, that threw me through a loop, man. I was like, I got to go look at this dude up a little bit more. Number 2 is Quincy Williams. Quincy Williams at 33.96%. Number 2 is Landon Roberts, 31.77%. Number 4 is Nicholas Morrow at 30.17%. And number 5 is Kyzir White at 30%. That was your top 5 will linebackers in terms of those impact plays. We got pretty much the same type of production and arguably a little better here. Now, I will say that it gets complex when you're dealing with coverage grades. We're just really talking about impact plays, shutting it down below 3 yards. I mean, when you're grading things like coverage and even run defense, like understanding the gap fits and understanding the assignments, it's more of a complex argument than what I'm making here. I'm just looking at impact plays in general. So, number 6 was Roquan Smith at 29.58%. Levante David was number 7 at 29.03%. Foyesade Alakan was 8 with 25.54%. Shaq Thompson was next, number 9 at 25.18%. Bobby Okereke was number 10 with 24.5%. And then number 11 was Rashawn Evans at 20%, 20.12% to be exact. I gave you 11 instead of 10 just because I know the Roquan Smith thing is a little complicated. And you have further complications. Like, you got guys like Alex Singleton who plays pretty much every alignment. I do think that in Denver they do qualify him more as a Mike linebacker, but I mean, the dude plays every alignment. He'll play the weak side, he'll play the strong side, and you're really getting into some terminology here when you talk about this, right? You're talking about, well, are they playing on the weak side of the offense or the strong side of the offense? What is the offense doing to kind of dictate that, right? You can say like, oh, well, this guy plays on the weak side, but they can shift and move formations and now put your guy that's normally the will linebacker, they can now make him on the strong side. So in essence, he's basically becoming the Mike. So there are some ways of getting around that. You have to kind of know what offenses are doing to manipulate a defense. With that said, man, I'm really happy with this signing. Like, I'm not saying that this is going to work out. You never know, man. I mean, dude's got to get in camp. You got to see what he does. But I went over his traits for you guys in the last video, and I talked about how explosive this young man is. This dude has a ton of explosion. Man, then you look at the fact that he's making impact plays. Nakobe Dean's kind of sliding in there. I think, I could be wrong. This could go completely left field on us, and it ain't what it looks like. But you're sliding Nakobe Dean as the Mike. Now you need to have someone on the will that makes this job easier. You want to know why really good players will underproduce, especially when you look at the big plays, what they're defining as these big plays, impact plays. Well, it's probably because they're having to take over for responsibilities for the will. The will linebacker's not doing their job in terms of the fits and things like that. So, to me, getting a guy like this who's proven, and I can see underneath the underlying analytics, actually played pretty dang well last year. This is pretty big, man. This is a really, really big thing for, I think, the Philadelphia Eagles personally. All right, y'all, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think here. Interesting. Like I said, I can't say if he will or won't be, but I will say that I see what they're looking at. Like, I feel a lot more comfortable with this signing now. I don't feel like this is just a complete cheapskate thing. And there were times where I definitely kind of felt that way. I'm not going to lie about that. I do feel like, no, like they kind of did their thing here. Like, no one knows if it'll be successful, but at least you can make arguments around this. You can see what they're looking at. Whether it works out or not, man, who knows? You guys know that. It's tough to predict whether or not something's going to work out or not. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. And like I said, guys, leave your comments down below, and I'll see y'all on the next video.